There has been a weather warning given for some fixtures this weekend in the Premier League ahead of FPL Gameweek 23, and we're going to be taking a look at them fixtures and how they could affect our FPL team. I'm also going to be going through my final team ahead of the next game week, but it's not good news for people who own players from these clubs that I'm going to be showing you in a second. If you do want to enjoy the video, do drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new around here. It takes 1 second to subscribe, you'd be very much appreciated. And let's jump into it. Also, if you're not aware of the windy conditions and the weather warning, why it's happened, it's currently in Scotland and Ireland. It's been so bad. Some places have been absolutely decimated with these winds. So it's apparently heading over to the UK or heading over to England over the course of this weekend. And the first game that it's affecting is Tottenham versus Leicester City. It says stormy Eowyn is expected to cause disruption across London and South East England over the course of the weekend. And then it goes on to say that Spurs' game against Leicester could be postponed due to the impact of the storm. It says, however, there's a risk the game could be called off. Stormy Eowyn is set to cause chaos and bring major disruption to the United Kingdom over the weekend. And one of these areas being where Spurs Stadium is in London, and as well as that, we've got another game as well that it could be potentially affecting. But there's a yellow weather warning across London and South East England over the course of this weekend. So one game that could be postponed is Spurs versus Leicester. Now, we don't really own too many players from those teams. You might own maybe a Heung-min Madison or someone like that. I don't even know who really owns Spurs players these days, but luckily that game shouldn't really impact our FPL teams too much. As for the next game, this is one where we do have quite a lot of FPL players. There's multiple players here. It's the game between Fulham and Man United at Craven Cottage. And it says, again, this game has weather warnings. Again, it's on Sunday, just like the Spurs game. And we do have quite a few players that do play for United and Fulham. We obviously have Diallo, who people might own. Bruno Fernandes as well for United, who's quite heavily owned. And then for Fulham as well, you have Anthony Robinson. You also have Alex Iwobi, and you have Raul Jimenez as well, and maybe even like a Castagna as well. So there's players that we do own in this game. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It says the game might be called off due to the storm. Stormy Eowyn is set to cause chaos and bring major disruption over the course of the weekend. So again, it's just a wait and see. There's still a few days till Sunday yet, but those are the two matches that are mostly going to be affected by these weather conditions. Hopefully the game should be fine. As I say, it's a yellow weather warning. It should hopefully be fine, but it's definitely something to be aware of going into the next game. So let's have a look at my team and see my transfer plans and see what I've done and see how we're getting on this week. So as you can see, this is the team going ahead into the weekend. We have a bit of a benching dilemma. We've currently got Anthony Robinson and Amad Diallo sat on the bench, which I think personally I would rather start Rodgers over Amad. And then it's a case of really Gabriel and Arne versus Robinson against United. I'm not too sure at the moment. I'm really 50-50, but I do want to kind of play the Nottingham Forest defender because the amount of people that own Nottingham Forest defenders, a lot of people already own Arne, a lot of people have Milenkovic, people have Nico Williams now as well, and then people have Sells in goal as well. So there's quite a high ownership, of course, all around the Nottingham Forest defence. Even though Robinson's quite highly owned, there might be less people playing Robinson than the combined Nottingham Forest defence. And then Gabriel, he's been frustrating, but you just feel like he's got a goal in him from set pieces. Wolves have been pretty poor in recent weeks, but they are still a threat going forward. There's no doubt about it. So currently, I'm starting Arne and Gabriel. Then Robinson is on the bench at the moment. That could very well change, but that's what I'm quite set on at the moment. Going on into the midfield, as I said, we have Morgan Rodgers. It's Morgan Rodgers versus Amad Diallo for me is my benching dilemma for this week. And I do think Morgan Rodgers, he's been very, very good over the course of the season. He's been pretty consistent since he started getting returns with his FPL points. He's had quite a few returns as well in recent weeks, and the fixtures coming up for Aston Villa are very nice. Now United, I'm just not as convinced with. Or even last night in the Europa League against Rangers, I didn't think they were great. So and Ahmad didn't do anything in that game either. I just think Rodgers is a safer bet this week for me personally, and he's higher owned as well. I think Rodgers is going to be pretty well selected. I think a lot of people are going to be starting Rodgers this week. So for me, Morgan Rodgers is absolutely starting for me. I think Ahmad's probably just the safest bench for me. As my captain, I've currently got it on Mo Salah. It's obviously between Mo Salah and Alexander Isak. I just think you can't go against Salah really with the fixture that he's got. I mean, Isak's got a good fixture as well, but Ipswich conceded 6 yesterday or last week against Man City. Mo Salah, I think, is going to do very well. Scored in the week in the Champions League. People saying that he might need a rest or whatever, but it's not coming against Ipswich. I just don't see him getting. He's definitely not going to get benched, and I don't even think he'll get subbed off either. People getting rid of Cole Palmer this week, I think, is absolute craziness. Realistically, he could very well get a return against Man City, who aren't solid defensively. They conceded quite a few to PSG in the last match, and they always seem to find a way to concede goals And Cole Palmer, he's been a bit frustrating to own of late, even though he has had two double-digit hauls in the last 3 matches. He doesn't feel like he's as kind of influential as what he's been in terms of output for goals and assisting as what he was at the start of the season. But I still think he'll be absolutely fine. He's absolutely staying in my team. I don't really understand why people are getting rid of him. I'm seeing a lot of people bringing in Phil Foden for him. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Mbuemo, I'm really happy to own him this week. A few people starting to bring him in, but he's not like massively highly owned at this stage. I think a lot of people will be getting rid of Gordon next week and then going to Mbuemo, and that's going to be a very, very popular transfer move, especially if Mbuemo does well against Crystal Palace, which I hope he does. But yeah, as I say, Gordon, a lot of people own. He's going to be someone that could really do my ranking. We're currently sat at 180k. He could be someone that could really bring me down the ranks if Gordon does well against Southampton. It's a shame only owning one Newcastle player in this game against Southampton, but the fixtures after that aren't great. It's Fulham and I think it's Man City. It's a tougher run coming up for Newcastle, so I just think I've missed the boat really on bringing in Anthony Gordon, and I couldn't really bring him in. I wouldn't be transferring out in Mbuemo. It's just very difficult to get to Gordon. I'd love to have him this week, but I just can't, unfortunately. Going on to the front three, we have Chris Wood. Of course, we have to have Chris Wood. The fixtures are getting a bit tougher now for Nottingham Forest, but he's so highly owned, and I'm not considering getting rid of him until a lot of other people get rid of him, because he's just been so good. I've got a lot of value tied up in Chris Wood as well. I brought him in at 6.1 million. He's up at about 7 million or something. I might be 7.1 now. Like, I've got a lot of money tied up in Chris Wood, so I'm not 100% sure if I want to get rid of him anytime soon. And the way that he's playing, I don't even think it matters who he plays against. He just gets returns no matter what, it feels like. Then Alexander Isak, he is a great captaincy shout this week, but I just think for me, I'm going to be going with Mo Salah. I've stuck with Mo Salah this whole time. Could it be a mistake? Potentially, but we'll see. I think Isak, for me, I'm happy just to own him, but he's not going to be getting me any kind of green arrow. If Isak returns against Southampton, it will be getting me a red arrow, because I think he'll be over 100% effective ownership, because quite a few people will go from his captain this week. Then we have Cody Gakpo as our transfer in this week. We got rid of Jackson, and we brought in Cody Gakpo. We still have 3 free transfers, so we have 4 free transfers going into next week. I'm pretty set on this team that I want to go for this week. We're going for the triple up in Liverpool against Ipswich. We're going for the triple Liverpool in the double game week. And for me, Cody Gakpo, I said this all the time, Cody Gakpo I think is the best Liverpool asset after Salah and Alexander-Arnold for me in the double game week. Taking everything into consideration, I'd probably put Alisson ahead of Gakpo, but then when you take into consideration that Pickford has got a double game week as well, and I want to have Pickford for the double game week, I think that puts Cody Gakpo as the third best Liverpool option for me. So let me know how you're getting on for the next game week. Any questions, get them in the comment section down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.